Hello, guys. So I want to just talk to you about who my favorite Byzantine emperor is. My favorite Byzantine emperor is Emperor Heraclius, who ruled from 610 AD to 641 AD. And his era represents the end of late antiquity and the beginning of the early Middle Ages in Europe. And the reason why I consider him to be my favorite Byzantine emperor is not because that he was the best, but because he's probably the most interesting, other than maybe Emperor Manuel and probably Justinian. And I, generally speaking, um, think that Heraclius is one of those kind of emperors who straddles two eras. One where the Roman Empire or the Byzantine Empire was basically um, an empire that had basically an integration of kind of the North African culture, the Palestine culture, with the Anatolian and the Greek and the Balkan regions. That integration would fall apart, and the empire would become a far more Greek oriented empire after 641 in comparison to what it was before, where it was a lot more multi ethnic, multi religious. So, and one of the things about him is that I'm just find him, he has a tenacity. He was able to overthrow Emperor Focus. He was able, with the assistance of his father, of course, he was also able to build a regime that could last after overthrowing Emperor Focus and getting revenge on the emperor for having killed Emperor Maurice in a coup and his sons, um, and all the other things that he had done, according to what the narrative says. He was able to drive back the Sassanids and had, this wasn't easy. There were many close calls. Constantinople was under siege by the Avars and the Sassanids. Um, he was victorious. He beat the Sassanids at the Battle of Nineveh. But only a couple years after that, Muhammad and his Islamic empire would grow from Arabia and take both empires, both the Byzantines and the Sassanids, by surprise. So basically, after the Battle of Yarmouk, um, the Byzantines were never able to really recover, other than to basically coalesce in um, Western or Eastern Anatolia and hold back the Muslims there. The Sassanids were not so lucky. Their empire had actually gone through a civil war and wasn't in any shape really to resist in the way they could have been able to had they had more competent leadership and the political system was more together. So he, after 633, when the Muslims really began attacking both empires, he was responsible for starting reforms that would be to the beginning of the theme system, which would see many local regions be responsible for their own defense rather than it being centralized, like in the old Roman Empire. So his reign at that late reign would be the beginning of that system, and his sons, Constance II, and then going all the way to Justinian II, the one with the nose that was cut off. Um, so you would have his dynasty would be responsible for shepherding basically the Byzantine Empire into kind of a new age, one which was dominated by Greek culture rather than being kind of this cosmopolitan culture that had defined the Roman Empire since really the conquest of Carthage and Greece in 146 BC. And this transformation of the Eastern Roman Empire or the Byzantine Empire under Heraclius and his descendants, in my opinion, is what I would consider the true beginning of the Byzantine Empire, or what I say the medieval phase of the Roman Empire, or the Eastern Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire of 395 to about 632 or 634, depending on when you want to start. This is really the last phase, really. of the Eastern Roman Empire in the classical sense of that is recognizable to Romans, say, such as Augustus, or people such as who were fighting in the Punic Wars. So he is representative of an era of transformation. It is remarkable when you consider that 100 years after Muhammad died, that the Muslims would control land all the way from Central Asia, all the way to southern Spain. But the Byzantines were able to survive, and largely the reason for that is because Heraclius was able to beat back the Sassanids. He was able to start the reforms to change the administrative structures that his sons and descendants would continue to consolidate and continue to implement, which would lead to eventually there being a renaissance. And through all the trials and tribulations of iconoclasm and, battles in Sardinia and Sicily, losing those territories, and all the other various groups and religious schisms with the Holy Roman Empire and Charlemagne, that Heraclius's efforts were able to give the Byzantines an ability to be able to have the Macedonian Renaissance, and then at least again with the Chammonians in the late 11th and the 12th centuries. So it's because of their efforts that they gave the Byzantine Empire the ability to live to fight another day and to thrive. So that's just all I wanted to say about Emperor Heraclius, who I consider to be one of my favorite emperors, and I definitely would consider him, if we were to rate him, I would say that he is the second best emperor after Emperor Basil II. So thank you for watching my video.